I realize I have not answered the most important question, and that is, what can we do to help? There are a lot of politicians out there saying some of the most wildest things, and it's turning people against one another. We see it working because this is the landlord that killed the 6-year-old Palestinian American boy. So what can you do? You call, you email, or you show up and you let them know they lost your vote.
In Palestinian refugee camps
and saw how decapitating babies' heads. They are not intentionally doing that.
They're blowing up entire residential buildings. I watched Al Jazeera's, and they're not covering that on CNN.
Well, I would be very careful with Al Jazeera. I mean, that's funded by a lot of these Middle East governments. Yeah, but I'd be very careful with Al Jazeera.
Okay, but I don't think they're faking pictures of families carrying their babies in, totally dead. You know, it's a two-way street. Israel has been killing Palestinians for the whole time Gaza has existed, and they've been contained in a prison.
Israel put in a warning, we're going to go in this area, civilians leave. Hamas tells them not to leave. Hamas wants them to be human shields. That's their tactic, technique, and procedure. How many other armed forces give warnings to get out before they go? I think Israel is probably the only one in the world that does that.
Absolutely. I don't condone the killing of any innocent civilians, and I don't condone what Hamas did in the kibbutzes, but Israel is doing the exact same thing with Benjamin Netanyahu, who is a radical right-wing crazy person, and I see hundreds of Palestinian families that are dead, and they have nowhere to go because they can't leave the Gaza because no one's opening their borders.
Well, that's
and they have
the thing. You bring up a good point, though. You bring up a really good point. Why aren't these Arab countries willing to absorb some of the Palestinian Arabs? They will not do it.
Because all the Palestinians, they were all displaced from their homes in 1948. I was there. I saw where people were living.
None of the Arab countries will be able to accept refugees.
You had my vote, but you don't now.
There are several organizations you can donate to. This is one that I've worked with in the past several times during Ramadan. They have a school in Gaza, but right now it's being used as shelter. Lastly, you can join the millions of people who are showing up around the world to protest.
No civilized nation on earth would agree that depriving children of food and water is acceptable. I'm here because I'm a human being, and anyone with a conscience believes that a civilian population should never be punished in this way. It's collective punishment. It's a war crime. And unless we stop it, unless we get out there and say something, it's going to end up with thousands losing their lives.
Can you put into words how you feel about the loss of life on both sides?
Every life is precious. But the root of this violence is the occupation. It's not complicated. It's a settler colonial state imposing apartheid and oppression on an indigenous people. And that's wrong everywhere, for anybody. And it has to be true that all the Palestinians want is freedom. And we must support that in equal rights. And I stand up here, I'm so pleased to see so many of my brothers and sisters with big hearts who know the truth. And the Western media has a duty now to tell the truth about what's happening, because I am seeing the worst horrors I could ever have imagined. I grew up in the shadow of the Holocaust, and we said never again, and that means never again for anyone. And I beg of anyone, if they have a conscience, get out there and speak, and demand your leaders speak.